Good morning on this Friday, February 28th. I'm Kirsten Stunkel. Before we get to today's topics, we have some important news. This is unfortunately the last episode of the North German Brief for the time being. This format was offered as part of a trial, which is now coming to an end. If you are sad not to be able to listen to another episode of our English language news podcast, you are welcome to send us an email to audio@shz.de. The email address can also be found in the description of this episode. Many thanks to all listeners of the North German Brief, your news from Schleswig Holstein. And now to today's topics. The Husum District Court has found a 51-year-old North Frisian man guilty of possessing child pornography. Hear more about the case in the Focus section, the S-Bahn line between Pinneberg and Hamburg, AC/DC's hit TNT and the Kiel Fjord, and which acts are coming to the Schleswig Holstein Music Festival this year. But first, let's take a look at our main focus.
Today in Focus.
A 51-year-old man from North Frisia had to appear in court again for having child pornography on his phone. This time, he was sentenced to a longer prison term. My colleague Annalena Scheld has more details. The man was accused of having hundreds of images and videos of children on his phone. He had also viewed this content online. The hearings went quickly. The defendant confessed from the outset, so the whole case was heard in one morning. Apart from him, only one other witness testified: the police officer who investigated the case. He was also found guilty and sentenced to 1 year in prison, which was suspended. He must undergo therapy to learn how to deal with his pedophile tendencies appropriately, and not to resort to child pornography. He must also pay €1,000 to the Wage Courage Counselling Centre, which helps children and young people who have been victims of sexual violence. The defendant was calm during the whole process. He sat quietly, spoke clearly and concisely in short sentences, listened calmly to the sentencing, and then to the judge's reasons for her verdict. He just sat there quietly, folded his hands on the table in front of him, nodded, and agreed with her that he definitely had to change.
TNT and the Kiel Fjord.
When I heard the song TNT by the band AC/DC, I thought of the song's lyrics. TNT, I'm dynamite, the song goes. But this article is not about the band. It's about ammunition. Around 1.3 million tons of ammunition from the World Wars are stored in the German North Sea. Scientists believe there are around 300,000 tons in the Baltic Sea, and they are dangerous to the environment. A new study by the Guillaume Helmholtz Center for Ocean Research Kiel found that 3,000 kilograms of toxic chemicals have already been released from explosive devices in the Bay of Lübeck and Kiel. These chemicals are not good for water quality. Scientists tested water samples from 2017 and 2018, and they found these chemicals in almost all cases. While these levels are still below the threshold that would pose a health risk. The results underscore the necessity to act swiftly on the matter of removing munitions in order to mitigate long-term risks, as Guillaume explains. The study has now been published in a journal that specializes in the subject. Returning to the water samples taken in 2017 and 2018, which were collected from the southwestern Baltic Sea, including the bays of Kiel and Lübeck, they found munitions chemicals in almost every water sample. The Bay of Kiel had high concentrations of TNT, while the Bay of Lübeck had high concentrations of RDX and DNB. The munitions chemicals were only slightly bound to suspended matter or sediments. Last year, a pilot project was launched in Schleswig Holstein. The federal government funded the project with €100 million. In the Bay of Lübeck, the project initially tested the salvaging of munitions. This year, a salvage platform is to be built. The platform will allow ammunition to be destroyed at sea. The federal coalition is likely to negotiate about more funding. We'll keep you updated on this issue. I started this article with AC/DC, so I checked again. They're touring Germany this year too, in Berlin and Düsseldorf, but unfortunately, they're not coming to the Kieler Förde. I'll probably never get rid of the earworm. Let's look at what else is relevant in Schleswig Holstein now.
The S-Bahn line between Pinneberg and Hamburg.
The S-Bahn line between Pinneberg and Hamburg will be closed from March 7th to 21st. As in the past 2 years, the station in Pinneberg will be the last stop for trains going through it. Commuters will have to switch to the S-Bahn. This is a sensitive issue for the Pinneberg district. Around 8,700 commuters from Pinneberg travel to work in Hamburg every day. According to a Deutsche Bahn spokesperson, the reason for the train cancellations is the construction work to relocate Altona station to Diebsteich. The construction work includes the construction of the first long-distance platform and the renewal of the Plönerstrasse Railroad overpass.
Which acts are coming to the Schleswig Holstein Music Festival this year?
The Schleswig Holstein Music Festival has revealed the final details about the 2025 festival program. The event will take place in Neumünster, and it will feature a very special performance by superstar Herbert Grönemeyer. He will be conducting the Bochum Symphony Orchestra at Holstenhalle, one on Saturday, June 28th at 7:30 p.m. He'll also be performing some of his most popular songs in a symphonic setting. Sting will also be at the festival on June 14th. The Fantastischen Vier will also be performing, and the festival is also dedicated to the music metropolis of Istanbul. I'm particularly looking forward to pianist Fazel Say. I've already missed him a few times at the Elbphilharmonie, and he's got a few concerts, this time at the Schleswig Holstein Music Festival. So it's worth taking another look at the program. And, by the way, tomorrow is the start of spring, at least according to the calendar. After 2 days of winter sunshine, we're more than ready for it, aren't we? That's all for today. Have a lovely weekend and a great start to spring.